Hey everybody, it's Sam here. Thank you for watching today. So as you can see, I'm going to be showing you how to make this rather large Christmas tree shaped advent calendar. So I do an advent every year. It's always a solid 3D project. So this one's using Scoreboard. I think last year was foam board, and then the 2 years prior to that I've used Scoreboard. So I think this is the I think it's the 5th advent I've done. I've got a playlist which I'll link up here, so there's loads on there. So maybe you might not want to do this one, but you might think, oh, I didn't realise she's made advent calendars. I'll go and check out the playlist, so have a look there as well. But this year I've decided to do this Christmas tree. Now the idea was that I was going to give this one to Charlie, but I think maybe it's a bit too grown up in terms of the decoration. But last year's one that I gave to my sister and her husband has the flashing lights on it, has the little miniature scene. They may think to give that one to Charlie now, and they use this one. We'll see. When I give it to her, she can decide. But it's a lovely project to do. It's a big project like all of the advent calendars, so I would give yourself a few days to do this one. Do all the boxes in one day, then do the framework one day, and then do the decoration another day. But I've still given you plenty of time to do this before the 1st of December. And I finished it with a little star on the top there, which I might change. I'm unsure. It's all decorated on the sides. I've used this lovely foiled paper. You've got all your boxes there which slide out. They've got the little thumb kind of pull there. And then if I just flip it over, it's all decorated on the back there as well. I've used this paper pad, which is the Christmas, it's just called Christmas. It's the foil pad from Craft Sensations, and I got this in the range. And I've used and already cut down this one here. And that's really where the size kind of started. I worked with the size of these numbers and then I went from there. But I'm really pleased with this one. The idea came from, I think it was one that I saw in Debenhams last year, or it might have been, it was either Debenhams or House of Fraser, and I saw this Christmas tree shape, and there's lots of companies that have made these before, but this was my take on it, and I think it's come together really well. So for those of you that have been waiting for the Advent tutorial, I hope you enjoy this one. Let's get started. So first of all, I think it's best to make the boxes, because once you've got all those done, then you can work the tree shape around it to make sure you get everything to fit inside. So you want to cut yourself 24 pieces of 4 by 8.5. Along the 4-inch side you want to score it 2, so right down through the middle, and then along that long side you're going to score it 2, 4, 6 and then 8. Okay, I've already cut this piece away, I'll show you that in a minute. I've gone for that size because it fits my squares perfectly. So that's all the scoring. Like I said, you need to do that as many times as you want. Next you want to fold and burnish all of the score lines. Okay, so next we want to do some cutting, so I'm going to use my longer scissors. So with that 1/2-inch tab here on the right hand side, you want to cut up each of these score lines to the first one. So you just want to free them all up like so. Okay, now when you wrap this together and we attach it, I'm going to have the join in the back left hand corner there. So this front one I want to keep as a complete square shape, so that'll be the last one I stick down. So I'm going to fold that one away, so you can see if I open it up, I want to work on these 3, and I just want to take a little bit off of the corners, just a little wedge, and that way, you know, you're not going to have any of this hanging over the edges. It's just going to keep your boxes looking quite nice. You don't need to take too much, just enough. And then you'll have your full 1/2-inch piece there. You just want to remove the bottom part away completely, and then just take a little wedge off of the corner there of each one. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. I also found doing this, get all of them scored, or first of all cut all of the pieces this size, then score them all, and then cut up along here and here, and then stick together. If you do one at a time from the start of that process to the end, it will take so much longer, but by doing it as in batches, it's much quicker. So now we want to attach the box, so I'm going to add my glue all over the tab there. If you just fold that one completely over, and then that one, everything will line up. Give that a minute to dry. So now when I open it up, you can see the cube shape there. So I've got that in the back left. I'm going to open that one up, and I'm going to put the back one down first, and I'm just going to add my glue all on the back there. Stick one side down to make sure you've got a nice right angle. And then I'm going to add glue all over this one. Stick that side down. And then lastly, this one here. And then just stick that down. And you'll see it will conceal all the other pieces. You just get a nice finish. Plus you get that continued kind of flow of the cardstock on the front there, whereas on the side you can see all the joins. So you want that to be the front, again with the join in the bottom left hand or back left corner. Next I'm going to attach my number. Now if you haven't got the pad that I've cut these pieces so they're just slightly under 2 by 2. So I think I ended up doing 1 7/8 of an inch squared. You could do 1 3/4 if you'd prefer an easier measurement to follow. It just gives you more of a white border, or you know, whatever colour that you're doing for your boxes. You might want to do a matte and a layer. If you're doing that, then maybe do 1 3/4 square for this pattern piece, then do 1 1/2 square, and then have your numbers. You might want to use stickers. Like I said at the beginning, I've got a whole playlist of different, you know, advents, so there's lots of inspiration there and ideas on how to decorate with the numbers. Next I want to punch the little finger pull. Now if you don't have a punch, you can go without. You could put a little piece of ribbon here and you could have it as a pull that way. If you're going to use a die, then you want to die cut that before you stick it all together. They're small enough to go through a standard machine. But now I'm just going to turn this upside down, pop it in the middle, just eyeballing it. So I've got the same amount on each side there. And then just pop that out. And now I've got my little finger pull there, so it makes it easy for me to slide the boxes in and out. So just get all of those finished. And when you're done, you should have all of your boxes that look something like this. You can see I've got all my little finger pulls, all the different numbers there. Some are written. And then you've got some with like the foiling detail. Really, really nice. I think the one could have been a bit more special, so I'm going to add a little star, I think, onto that one. But get all of that ready, get everything stuck down. If you want to line inside, if you want to decorate all of the sides, just repeat the measurements that I've given you. But get all of those ready, and then we can move on to the next part. So first of all, we're going to start off creating the largest tier, or the bottom tier of the Christmas tree. We'll do the tree trunk towards the end. So you'll want to cut yourself 3 pieces of 2 1/8 by 12 1/2. Now I don't use this trimmer to cut it. Never use a rotary cutter unless it's something industrial, I guess, but I would never use this. I use this one here, which is one of my old trimmers that I used to use. And I keep the blades because when the blades are blunt and they don't cut your cardstock or your paper anymore, they're still really good for cutting your grey board. So to cut this, if I use this little piece of scrap here, so I would pop it in. So say I want to make this a piece of 2 inch length. Just go a few times on the front and then flip it over, pop it back in to your marker, and then a few times again, and you'll see it's cut away. Okay, so that's how you want to cut your grey board. So you want 3 pieces of that 12 1/2 by 2 1/8. The width is the same on pretty much all the pieces, I believe. Like I said, I'm going to do this bit by bit. I will write the full quantities all on my blog once I've done the post. I've then got these pieces of cardstock here, so I want to create all the hinges and cover all of the corners first, and then it will all be together, and then we can cut the pattern paper down into the sizes that we need. So I've got these 3 strips. This here is the Craft UK card that I picked up. I did share it in a What Did I Get probably a few months ago now, but this is a 220 GSM. You don't want a heavy weight for this because it's the hinges. You just want it to cover the raw edges here of the grey board, so that then your pattern paper is going to sit a bit better. So I'm using the Collall Bookbinding glue for this. I find it's really good when I work with my mini albums. So this is the base. The back is going to sit against it, not on top of it. Okay, so we're going to be sticking that against it. And then the top one will again be next to it and not on top of it. So what we'll do first of all, because I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, I don't know what you're on about, Sam. So I'm going to break everything down for you, because by changing it ever so slightly, so where I said there we want this one to be against it and not on top of it, if we put it on top of it, we're losing 1/8 of an inch because of the thickness of this. So if I put my box on here, it's overhanging. the front. Whereas if I put that against it, that box can push back a bit, and now you'll see it sits nicely in that piece. So it is really important to make sure that you stick them in the right places. So I've just dumped out some of the glue there onto my mat. Trying to get everything in shot, and I've just got an old brush there that I'm going to use. That's everything in there. So I'm just going to get some of the glue and just cover along here. This stuff has a really good grab, and it dries quite quickly as well. So just cover that along there. And then I've got these strips here, but I'm just going to stick it so I've got about half of it overhanging. Don't worry that it doesn't meet the end, because we're just going to add a little bit more onto that in a minute. A little piece off of here. You want to keep it so it lines up. You don't want to go off the side there. Try not to get in a mess. I always say, right, don't get in a mess. Now you could use double-sided tape here, so don't, you don't have to use the liquid glue. But I'm just going to sit that one. And, this is all going to be covered. So again, don't worry too much if you're worried that it's a bit messy. It's all going to be hidden. But just stick that down. Okay, and then I'm going to add my glue inside here. So this one here needs to sit next to it. So when we lay this down, I'm just going to butt it right up there. And then I'm just going to lift up this piece here. So it's nice and taut. Next, I'm going to, this is optional, it's inside, but I want it to all look neat. This is, I'm giving this as a gift, so I do want to finish mine, to like a shop standard. So I'm going to cover all inside here. And each layer you will do the same way as I show you this one. So going forward, I'm just going to give you the measurements, and then I'm going to do them all. You don't need to watch me do every single one. And then with this piece here, which I've already covered in glue, again, just going to rub that out there because I'm going to be covering all of this. Now, you might want to add a score line. So I think I'm just going to pop it just so it's a bit easier to fold in here. So I'm just going to score it 1/2 inch just down there, and then just fold that in half so that glue's on the back. And then I can take this one and I'm just going to pop that right up into the corner there, and use your bone folder to really push that in. And then just going to add a little bit to overlap that corner there. And then just going to tear a little bit off. I'm just going to fold that in half. Fold or score, whatever works for you. And then that one I'm just going to line up. Again, just push that in. Like so. And then you can wrap that around if you want, but I'm going to be covering all that separately, so I'm just going to just trim that away. And just keep rubbing over it until the glue's, really starting to harden. Then you want to do the same with this one here, so I'm just going to turn it back that way. So with this one here, I'm going to flip this over. I like to start on the back first. Just cover all down here again. And then again, just stick it so you've got about 1/2 inch over hanging, and I'll use that little scrap piece. I like to go overlap because otherwise you still run the risk of some of the grey board being visible. So like so. And again, I'm just going to trim that piece off there, and then again just going to run my glue to cover that one there. This will all wipe off my desk, so I'm not too worried. It's all water-based. And then, like I said, this one is going on top. So again, you want to butt it up just like you did the other one. And then I'm just going to lift up that piece there. and it will grab pretty much instantly, which is why the bookbinding glue is really good for this kind of project. You're not having to hold it in place for ages, like with the Collall, for example. Cosmic shimmer would work, but it's expensive for, you're going to use a lot of it on here, whereas the bookbinding glue is not too expensive. Okay, so you'll see now we've started to get this little kind of shelf and all the boxes. I don't want to really push them in too much yet, but you'll see they're going to slide in there perfectly. Then I'm going to grab some more strips and just fill that join there, just like I did with the other side. Okay, so now we've got something like this, and it's already now becoming a really strong structure. You then want to, again, you're just going to want endless amounts of these 1 inch by the longest length you can get. And you want to cover the ends here as well. So I'm just wrapping that around. And again, you'll have a little join. No one's going to notice that though. But again, around there and around here. Don't worry about the sides, because we're going to be focusing on that next with those smaller grey board squares. So I'm just going to stick these on next. All of the corners and the sides all covered. Then you want to cut yourself these 2 pieces here. So they are 2 1/4 by 2 1/8. The 2 1/8 of an inch width will go this way. So it's the 2 1/4 is the height, and you'll see there it's the perfect height for the side, because obviously we've got both of these pieces over the side of this piece, so we've extended this length. So that's why you want to make sure that that 2 1/4 is this direction here. So to stick these down, you're going to do exactly the same way. So what I would do is flip it all the way over, so you're working on the back here, and I'm going to add, first of all, my glue along there. And I think I'll stick this piece down first of all. So just it's a piece of scrap. I'm going to have it overhanging each side, so I may be able to wrap this around and open it up. Pop some more glue in there, and then sit that one in. Again, it's going next to this piece. Well, it can't go on top, but it's going next to it there. Now you might want to just put a little bit of glue on the sides here. We're going to be adding more of those hinges, but just to maybe help it just kind of tack in place, I'm just going to sit that all there and just bring up that side section and just keep it all nice and straight, so you've got those right angles. And you can test again your box here. You want it to have a nice slide, but can you see that fits in there? Once that comes up with that hinge added on, it'll be fine, but you can see they do sit in there nicely. So that's all in place there. So what you can do here is just cut down on your corner, add in a little bit of glue, and then just fold those over. Again, this is all going to get covered. And I've got myself some more strips, again just folding in half and just cover the sides again here. What I'm going to do is line up at the very back so it's flush like so. But the front one, just hold that in place again, just make sure you've got a nice right angle. All of this is going to have lovely strips of pattern paper over it. You really are going to see just the smallest amount of these corners. What I'm going to do then with this excess piece is fold it inside here, and that way you'll get a nice corner. So just fold it over, push it in, and then you can kind of just start pulling it down until it's nice and tight around that corner. If you've made any of my storage boxes, it's all the same kind of techniques that we're using. like so. And again, just cut another piece off, and then this one, butt it right up to the end, and again a bit more glue in there, all on that top bit, and then just fold it right over and just keep pushing that down. It will slide into place. The glue all dries clear, you won't see any of it. If anything, you got more of it on your hands, but I don't mind. And then I've just put glue around that one there, and then I'm just going to fold this piece over. I'm not going to give measurements for all of these pieces. The grey board and the pattern paper I will, but these I'm just going to say, as long as they're 1 inch wide and they're long, you just trim them, and you're just basically patching it all together really. So how I've just done that one is again what you want to do at this end here. So that's all of the corners and the edges all covered, and just with your bone folder just go around the front here and just kind of flatten the front there. Okay, so this one is going to be like this. We're going to build up on top of this one. So I've got this piece here, and you're going to want 2 pieces this time because we've already got the base for the second layer. Now you can add pattern paper now if you would like to, but I'm going to just add the pattern paper on. For example, if I lay this here, you can see the next tier. I'm just going to cover some pattern paper here, because if you cover all of that, you're wasting. You're not going to see any of that, because you can see that sits perfectly on the top. So 2 pieces of that 2 1/8, but this time I can measure these with my longer ruler. These are 10 3/8 of an inch. So 2 pieces of that, and this time we're going to stick one on the edge here so it's flush with the back, and then this one is going to go on top, and then we're just going to add the sides, because like I said, if I do it this way so you can see it a bit better, so that one's just going to go flush with the back and this one's going to go on top. We've already got the base for the next layer. Okay, so what I would do first of all is just sit the 2 together, grab one of your strips. They'll probably be long enough now, you won't have to add so many pieces together. Again, I'm just folding mine in half like so, and then I'm going to just stick them together and then just run my glue that way. Just might speed it up a little bit for you. Okay, then I'm going to open them because I don't actually want them to stick directly together. And then this one, I'm just going to butt it right up and just let that grab. And then this one here, so we'll say this is the roof. So this one here will go down next to it. So this is next to this piece. It's not on top of it. You can see it's next to it. Okay. Just follow the same way I'm going, and then you know that you've got them all the right way. And just make sure it's a nice, again, right angle. So next I'm thinking about adding the sides this time, because I think it's going to be easier for you to then attach all of that together on there. I think that's going to work much easier. So again, these are 2 pieces of the same size I gave you before. So 2 1/4 by the 2 1/8. So just make sure you've got the right measurement. You'll know you've got it the right way, because it will be flush with the top and it will be flush here. So if I hold that up, see it's flush with that corner there, and it's flush down here as well. So it's actually on the sides of both of these pieces. Okay, on the side it's attached to, it's not on top. Make sure you butt it up to the side. And let's just add a little bit of glue in here and just fold I'm going to fold that right over, just open it up a bit. If you want to cover all this bit now as well, you can. In fact, I might do that, might do this. Trying to make sure I do all, show you as many kind of helpful ways. So let's just do that and this end. And then I'm going to add my glue. Just stick that one over the edge. I forgot to add my side in, and then you want to stick that one again. Remember, it's going on the outside. And then that one again, I'm going to just fold in like so. I wouldn't do anything more, don't cover that bit, because we're going to attach that on there, but I would do this edge here. So again, I'm going to just trim a section there. I'll do this corner and then I'll just speed up the other corner. I mean, you can see what I'm doing. You just need to cover each one. So again, I'm just wrapping that around. And just make sure it's sitting next to it. I didn't give myself that much overhanging there, but it's still enough for me to just get around that corner there and just slide that in. And do make sure you use your bone folder to get in there and just flatten it all. Otherwise you're going to end up having, you know, bulk in those corners. You really want to get in there. Just make sure it's as flush in the corner as possible. And then this last piece I will end up trimming off, because that way I'll get it right up to the edge. So I'm just going to cover again both sides. So just popping that in there and then just wrapping that over. And then just trim that. Sorry if I'm too close to the camera. Trim it right up to the edge. Okay, so now when that goes on there, we've got this all nice and covered, and then we're just going to attach it with a little hinge piece there. So I'm just going to do that again with this end here. Okay, so I've covered again all of the inside corners and all the sides apart from the bottom. So what I would also say is every time you make a section, test and put your boxes in, because you want to make sure that everything's going to fit. At least, I mean, you don't want it to, even at this stage really, because it's more work to do, but if there was an issue, at least it's only that section. If you put everything together and then go and put your boxes in and then you find you can't fit them in, you can just make different size boxes, so there is that option, but you don't want to be taking it all apart. But because this is going on top here, I've kept the bottom exposed, because we're going to now add those pieces. And you can see how that starts to fit in there. Oh, I also need to do that long one in there, but we'll do that in a minute. So these ones, I've been cutting myself these pieces down to 5 centimetres to, you know, cover this side here. So I'm just, I don't know why I've done centimetres. I always work in inches, but for those who prefer that, it's 2 inches. So, and again, like so. Again, just fold those, and I'm going to stick those on first. So you do want to make sure now that you get this, so you've got an equal amount overhanging. So it's going to be, what's that there? It's looking like 1 1/8 of an inch overhang. That's where mine's sitting. So I'm going to add some glue along both of those pieces. I'll do both at the same time. You can do one at a time if you want, but if you do it like that and then just sit that, I'm gonna have to turn it this way now so I can see what I'm doing. You can see I've just popped it in there. You're going to cover all this again with pattern paper. Just make sure, yeah, 1 1/8 of an inch. I could probably push it down a little bit now. So if you get this kind of wrong, then the rest of the tree is going to be, I think mine just goes a little bit wider towards the back, but it should be okay. Otherwise the tree is going to be all wonky. So now with this corner here, I'm just going to add the glue like that, and then I can just sit that one on top of there. So it doesn't go right across from the front to the back, but that's enough to hold it in place, because then you're going to add another one in here, so that's going to secure it as well. And once I start adding the pattern paper, I'm going to use the Collall glue then, because that's going to start adding lots of strength. But I think I'm quite happy with that. And then on the back here, I'm going to add a strip just along there, get a fresh piece, just so I can do that all in one go. So it's very easy just to follow what I'm doing. Like I said, if I gave all the measurements for all of these strips, I think it'd just become too confusing. You see what you kind of want to achieve. Don't worry at this stage in terms of like how it looks, because we've got so much pattern paper and other decoration that you can do. It really isn't going to matter. So just focus on making sure you get the grey board, you know, whether it's sitting next to each other or on top of each other, get that all correct, because that's all going to, you know, allow and make sure that the boxes fit in place. But just turn it over and just push it down inside there. And then I'm going to cut another piece, and I'm just going to add the tabs inside there. Okay, so that's that one now all in place. And then again, just check. You could always put the boxes in as you put the sides on as well, if you want to make sure that you're not going too high. But I have done it so that it should just all fit in. If some are a little bit snug in the corner, then just take it out, and you might find you just need to go in with your bone folder and just really push in those corners, because obviously we have built up, you know, some cardstock, which is why you don't want to go heavy with the cardstock. A paper is going to be better, so 180, 200, you know, 220 max really. But now that one should go in there, and there's still a bit of wet glue, but that's much better. So you're just going to repeat that now. So the bottom one is a whole kind of box on its own. All the rest are kind of like little pieces that you stack on top. So for the next one, so this is going to go like so. Okay, you'll want two pieces of 2 1/4 by 8 1/4. That looks like, let me grab, it's just slightly longer than my, yeah, 8 1/4. Okay, and then those two side pieces the same as the sides on here. Then the next one again will be here. Okay, and that's two pieces again of 2 1/8 inch by 6 1/4. I did say 2 1/8 on that one as well. They're all 2 1/8. I did say that at the beginning, but I want to make sure I get the same. Two pieces again for the side. And then you've got another one. So this is 2 1/8 by 4 1/4. And again, you've got your two sides. And then I will come back to when we do the top one, because you'll need a few more. I've got another square there as well. So I'm going to get all this put together now. You put them on exactly the same way as we did for this one. They're just slightly different lengths, that's all. So all of that is now in place. So I've just got the top and then the bottom left to do. So for the top, you want these 4 pieces here. I've got this one in the middle, which is 2 1/8 inch squared. These two are 2 1/4 by 2 1/8. And then this one for the top is 2 1/4 squared. So what's going to happen is if I get one of the boxes, okay, so we'll say this is on the top because it will have the base of this piece here. So it'll be sat on top of that. You're then going to have these two either side, so that the 2 1/4 is the width. You can see it will be more towards the front of the box, but you can see that back bit there, so it's got plenty of room. This 2 1/8 inch squared piece is going to go inside, so you're going to stick this either side. So this piece here is the same width as the box, pretty much. These pieces are going to stick side to side, and then because this is the largest piece, that 2 1/4, it will sit perfectly over all of those pieces. Okay, so make sure the 2 1/4 squared is on the top, and the 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 is on the back, and then these are on the side, and you want the 2 1/8 as your the height. Okay, the width is the 2 1/4. So just make sure you've got those like so, and they're going to stick side to side, not on top, otherwise it's going to be way too small. Side by side. So get those 3 stuck together first, and then stick the top on exactly the same way as you have with everything else. So again, I'm going to speed this up so you can still see what I'm doing. You can slow this down if you want to see it in more detail, but I'm literally just going to now put this together just the same as before. So that's all stuck down. What I would also say is when you go to stick your hinge here, try not to push in. Make sure you keep all of this at nice right angles, because it's very easy, I've done it a few times, to push too much against this when you're adding these pieces, and then you'll end up, you know, going into your space for your box and it might be too tight. So just make sure you really focus on keeping these nice and straight. But that's all ready now, and it stands up lovely like it is. I mean, you could just stay there, but you're not going to have 24 boxes. You're only going to have, no, you're going to have, well, -3. So what's that, 21. So I now want to do the same as this one here, the 3 box one. So these were 2 pieces of 6 1/4 by 2 1/8. But whereas we've been sticking on the top, and then the base was already there on each of those kind of levels, this time we want to stick it on the bottom, because this is now the base, and we're going to attach this piece. If I bring this one in, we're going to attach it like so, and then we're going to have the same size side pieces as I've done on everything. They're going to go and stick to the side like so, and just get it all in there. Okay, so you just want to attach everything all the same way again, and then put your hinges. You're just working it upside down or back to front, however you want to look at it. Okay, so from the paper pad, I'm just going to pop that to one side. I've used this one here is going to go on the back, so I'll show you that one in a moment. But for the side pieces, so to cover all these little steps and then the squares, I've used this lovely like foiled one, and all the Christmas trees are foiled, and I just thought it was perfect to put on the sides. So you're going to want to cut yourself 15 pieces of 2 by 2, and then 10 pieces of 7/8 of an inch by 2, and then I've got these pieces which are going to go under here, so it is optional, and these are 2 by 3. So I'm going to get all of that stuck down first of all. Okay, so I've stuck all those down. You can see it just hides everything, completely transforms it, and I love the shine that cardstock has. So now I'm going to flip this over, and I've got all these strips here. So I have this one for the top. So this is, make sure I'm in shot there, there we go. So this is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. Then the next one is 4 1/4 by 2 1/8. That's going to go there. I've stuck with the same green because it's on the back, you're not really going to see it, so I didn't want to use any of the real kind of specialty ones because they're just going to be wasted. 2 1/8 by 6 1/8. You could do 6 1/4 there. I could have gone a bit longer actually. I might have a bit of scrap, otherwise that's okay. The same again, so you'll want 2 of them because this one's going to go on the very bottom. I think that one was 6 1/4. Yeah, that one's, you do want 2 pieces of 6 1/4 by 2 1/8, but it's fine. Like I said, it's on the back, so I'm not too worried. Then I've got this piece here, which is 8 by 2 1/8, and then this one here, which is 10 1/4 by 2 1/8. And then this one was the 12-inch length, because it's as long as I've got in the paper pad, by 2 1/8. So it is a little bit shorter, but because we've got those you know, in my case, the green that I've used for all of the hinges and the edges, it doesn't matter anyway. But you'll see now that completely covers everything there. I'm going to use Collall because these are quite large pieces, so it's just going to add strength. I use Cosmic Shimmer on the side pieces in the end, but any glue really will work for this. So that's the back all secure. You just see it without me tipping it right over, because some of the boxes will fall out. And I just thought it'd be nice to add a star on the top. Now this is actually a decoration, which should be that way, but I don't think it looks too bad that way. So I'm going to try it, and then I have this little bit of tinsel to just wrap around the bottom to hide any hot glue. So I'm going to give it a go. If it doesn't work or it ends up coming off, I can always just go over it with another bit of pattern paper. So I'm going to pop the glue inside there as well. I don't mind it oozing out a bit because I'm going to, you know, tidy that up with the tinsel. Just, and then kind of get it in the middle there. I couldn't show me doing all of that because I needed to keep it upright because it just kept falling, but that's pretty strong there. I mean, they're going to have to be careful with it, but I know they'll just pop this up in their loft, probably just put it in a bag or something, so it should be okay. But yeah, I think it works. Like I said, if I do change my mind later on, then I can do. I might find another star between now and when I give it to them. But there it is, finished. I have to keep it this way so you can get it all in shot. I haven't ended up lining inside, so I know I said that I would, but I don't know, it's up to you. You know, for the short time that you take the box out to then, you know, take the gift out, it's pretty neat in there anyway. But if you do, then just, you know, measure the length there and cut down your pattern paper to size. You could also put a base piece on this. So if you wanted this to stand up, I mean, it stands up perfectly fine on its own. I never did want to do it with a stand. But if you did want to have a bigger platform and maybe create a little scene around it, like my other advents, then you can. But I'm really pleased with this one. I think it looks lovely. They all come out really easily, and I can't wait to fill them up with treats. And like I said at the beginning, I think my sister and Ollie will end up having this one, and maybe give the one that I gave them made last year, give that one to Charlie. Or my sister, you know, she might, you know, still want to give this one to Charlie, and for him to enjoy. But I know it's going to be appreciated and enjoyed by whoever ends up using it. So I hope you've enjoyed this Christmas tree advent tutorial. Like I said at the beginning, it's a big project. So, you know, give yourself a few days, get the boxes done first, then work on the frame, and then maybe the next day again do all of the pattern paper and the decoration. But I'll link all of the product that I've used in the description box below. Check out the other advents that will be popping up now, and I would have shared them at the beginning of the tutorial because you might want to, you know, look at those and decide you want to make one of those ones instead. And as always, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed today, please subscribe if you haven't already, and then you can see the rest of my Christmas series along with all of the other tutorials that I have already on the channel. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.